The prince that was promised. The prince that was promised, sometimes called the prince who was promised or the one who was promised, and also referred to as the Lord's chosen, the son of fire, and the warrior of light, is a prophesied savior in the religion of the Lord of Light. According to the prophecy, this figure would be born amidst salt and smoke and pull a sword named Lightbringer from flames, which they would use to combat an impending darkness. The prophecy was originally written in High Valyrian, and this led to a misunderstanding in translation, as the Valyrian word for to prince is gender-neutral. The accurate name for this prophesied savior is the prince or princess that was promised, indicating that it could be a man or a woman. Various figures have been proclaimed or have proclaimed themselves to be the prince that was promised through the ages. The early rulers of the Targaryen dynasty believed that the prince would eventually be born of their line due to a prophetic dream of Aegon the Conqueror. In the years immediately preceding the Great War, various individuals were suggested by different followers of the Lord of Light to be the prince. These, all with some Targaryen lineage, included Stannis Baratheon, Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen. The prince that was promised is a prophesied leader or savior. The prince may be part of an ancient prophecy which foretells the coming of a hero to deliver the world from darkness. A bleeding star is supposed to herald the coming of the prince. The prince is said to have a song, the Song of Ice and Fire. Historical. King Aegon I Targaryen's conquest of Westeros was motivated by a prophetic dream in which he foresaw the return of the White Walkers and the Great War. Aegon interpreted the dream as indicating that a Targaryen must unite and rule the 7 kingdoms of Westeros, believing that the prince that was promised would be born of his lineage. Aegon inscribed this prophecy on a Valyrian steel dagger that was later passed from king to king. In his dying moments, King Viserys I Targaryen proclaimed his belief that Rhaenyra Targaryen was the prince that was promised. His wife, Queen Alicent Hightower, misinterpreted his words as indicating he wished for their son Aegon Targaryen to succeed him as king. Recent. According to Melisandre, a Red Priestess of the Lord of Light, Stannis Baratheon, Lord of Dragonstone and self-proclaimed King of the Undulls and the First Men, is the prophesied prince. However, after Stannis is killed in battle and Jon Snow, the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, is raised from the dead, Melisandre claims Stannis was not the prince, but someone must be, suggesting she may now believe it is Jon. She later confirms this belief to Davos. Another Red Priestess, established in Volantis, preaches to a group of slaves and freedmen that Daenerys is their prophesied savior. Kinvara, the High Priestess of the Red Temple of Volantis, is also certain that Daenerys is the one who was promised, citing her freeing of slaves and birthing of dragons from stone as evidence. She agrees to send her best priests and preachers throughout Essos, spreading the good word about the queen. After Melisandre is banished from the north, she learns of Daenerys and her dragons. She comes to Dragonstone to make Daenerys aware of her destiny, and to tell her of Jon's importance as well in the coming war. Although it is ultimately Arya Stark who puts an end to the White Walkers through killing the Night King, both Jon and Daenerys were of critical importance in the Great War, Jon for his leadership and efforts to unite the living against the dead, and Daenerys for her additional forces and her dragons. Unbeknownst to anyone involved, the dagger used by Arya to kill the Night King was the same Valyrian steel dagger on which Aegon I had inscribed his prophecy. History. It is not known from where the prophecy originates, as information on the prince that was promised is scant. According to Melisandre, a Red Priestess of R'hllor, the prince was prophesied 5,000 years ago. She has mentioned the prince that was promised and Azor Ahai interchangeably but tends to use the name Azor Ahai far more often. Melisandre states that when the red star bleeds and the darkness gathers, Azor Ahai shall be born again amidst smoke and salt. Maester Aemon mentions a bleeding star, along with smoke and salt, as being part of the heralding of the prince that was promised coming, but he does not mention Azor Ahai. Archmaester Marwyn recalls that according to the prophecy, the prince would be born amidst salt and smoke, beneath a bleeding star. When he was younger, Aemon thought that Prince Rhaegar Targaryen was the prince who was promised, since the smoke would be from the fire at Summerhall and salt from the tears of those who cried there. Young Rhaegar agreed with Aemon that he might be the prince that was promised. According to Ars 10 Whitebeard, one day Rhaegar found something in his scrolls that changed him and he decided to become a knight, telling Ser Willem Barry, "I will require a sword and armor. It seems I must be a warrior." Rhaegar later believed that his infant son, Aegon, was the promised prince, since a comet was seen above King's Landing when the boy was born. Rhaegar was killed by Lord Robert Baratheon in the Battle of the Trident, however, and Aegon was killed by Ser Gregor Clegane in the sack of King's Landing. When he was a boy, the future King Aegon V Targaryen recalled that King Aerys I once read about the return of dragons in a prophecy. Maester Aemon believes that the dragon must have 3 heads, although it is unknown if that is connected with the prince that was promised. In the books. In the A Song of Ice and Fire novels, the prince that was promised is implied to be the reincarnation of a hero known as Azor Ahai, a legendary warrior who supposedly lived thousands of years ago. Stories about the Long Night or a similar cataclysmic event are told throughout Essos, one version of which says that a great darkness descended upon the land. Wielding a flaming sword called Lightbringer, Azor Ahai rose up and defeated this darkness. There is some debate among fans as to the interchangeability of Azor Ahai and the prince that was promised. It is implied that Azor Ahai is the name given to the legendary figure, while the prince that was promised is more properly his reincarnation. Melisandre has mentioned the prince that was promised and Azor Ahai interchangeably, but tends to use the name Azor Ahai far more often. In any case, the books do not make an explicit connection between the stories of Azor Ahai and the prophecies of the prince that was promised. Moreover, it is never clearly revealed where the prophecy about the prince originated, or what culture/religion made the original prediction. Legends of Azor Ahai are widespread across the further east of Essos, though he is known by different names, depending on the region. According to Melisandre, who hails from the city of Ashai, the prophecy about the prince was known there 5,000 years ago, but even this was millennia after Azor Ahai supposedly lived. The phrase "the prince that was promised" is first mentioned in the second novel A Clash of Kings. At the House of the Undying, Daenerys sees a man and a woman presumed to be her brother Rhaegar and his wife Elia Martell speaking about a newborn baby that the woman is nursing. The man says that the baby shall be called Aegon, and that he is the prince that was promised. Dragons often figure in various versions of this prophecy, and one interpretation indicates that the prince would be born from the line of House Targaryen. Stannis does match this description, because his grandmother was a Targaryen, but he was not born at a place of smoke and salt, which can be Dragonstone, a volcanic island. He was born in Storm's End. In Daenerys' vision, the man also mentions that the dragon has 3 heads, a line repeated throughout the series. This appears to reference the 3-headed dragon of House Targaryen's sigil, but has also been interpreted as meaning that the prince is actually 3 individuals working together. In the 5th novel A Dance with Dragons, Varys Selmy tells Daenerys that a woods witch, who was a friend of Jenny of Oldstones, told King Jaehaerys II Targaryen the prince that was promised would be born of the line of his children, and that prophecy made him wed his children to each other. Although Daenerys' gender should raise doubts as to the Red Priestess's identification of her as the prince that was promised, Maester Aemon points out that in High Valyrian, the language most versions of the prophecy were written in, the word corresponding to prince is gender-neutral. Aemon quickly realizes this after Melisandre begins proselytizing upon her arrival at the Wall. Although he didn't realize it during his years of correspondence with Rhaegar Targaryen, Melisandre's identification of Stannis as the prince makes him reconsider the evidence, if only to shut her up. In the series, Kinvara seems to have come to the same conclusion, while it is Missandei who points out the translation issue on screen. In the books, none of the prophecies detailing the prince that was promised match the life of Arya, who kills the Night King, and thus all White Walkers, in the show. However, she fits somewhat with Rhaegar's insistence that the dragon must have 3 heads, although as a Stark, the sigil of her house is a dire wolf, not a dragon. See The Long Night for more details. In Fire and Blood, there is no mention of the prince that was promised or the Song of Ice and Fire.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.